John Collins here, the paper airplane guy, world record holder for paper airplane distance. We're going to do this plane today, which is the Boomerang plane. You can see it circling really nicely to the left there. I'm kind of juggling two of them. That's kind of fun. In slow motion, no less. It also circles to the right. That's the surprise. With no adjustment, I can just grab it and make it circle to the right. Also does a loop. So it looks like 3 tricks, 1 plane, no adjusting. It's the Boomerang I. And you've probably seen me throw this plane in demonstrations before. And we're going to learn how to make that today. Welcome to my YouTube channel, by the way. If this is your first trip here, welcome. There's all kinds of great tutorials here. And today, the Boomerang plane. So let's start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm using 24-pound paper today. You could use 20-pound. 26 is a bit heavy. It'll rip in the thick spots. So 20 or 24-pound paper works great. US letter size, 8.5 by 11. Start by folding it in half. And I'm just bringing these bottom corners up to the top corners as neatly as I can, starting in the center and sweeping to the outside edges. That's always a good idea. And I've got the open edges on top, you can see, and the bottom edge is the crease. We're going to find the 1/4 mark on this creased edge. So start out by finding the halfway mark. I'm just going to rotate it here while I just fold this corner up and mark the halfway point. And I'm just making a little tick mark there, a little tick crease there. So there's the halfway mark on that. Now what we're going to do is find half of that, which is going to be 1/4. So once again, I'll rotate it here and just fold this corner up to the tick mark and make another tick mark. There we go. There's the 1/4 mark. So we've got a 1/4 mark, we've got a halfway mark, and right now what we're going to do is use this 1/4 mark. We're going to fold from this 1/4 mark up to this corner. Actually, it's 2 corners. You can see it's open right there. So this is the creased edge, this is the open edge. So we're folding from the 1/4 mark up to this corner. And here we go. So what I'm going to do is try to hit both of those landmarks as solidly as I can. Trying to hit this corner, hold these edges together best you can, keep those corners together as I fold up from the 1/4 mark up there. And I'm just going to take my time, make sure I can get it as accurately as possible. I want it to come out as closely as I can on the corners and as closely as I can on the 1/4 mark. So now what I've done is created a loop of paper here by folding that corner over. This is the creased edge right here. And now I've got a loop of paper. So what we're going to do next is called a squash fold. We're just going to open up these layers and press the crease down to the center. And I'm going to do it in such a way that this crease ends up just to the left of this edge right here. So this top flap right here, it's got a creased edge right here. I'm just going to put this crease just to the left-hand side of that. So I'm going to end up wrapping the layers around. You'll see in a second. That's why I'm going just to one side there. And so there we go. So that's my squash fold. Makes a nice little isosceles triangle here. And then you can either just lift it up and wrap that behind like that, or, you know, a lot of people like to flip it over and then just follow this crease like that. And so I've got a pocket here, and then when I flip it back over this way, I've got a pocket right here. And what we're going to do, and you can see those pockets kind of tie that front together there, like that. And what we're going to do next is take this corner and put it in this pocket, and this corner and put it in this pocket. But you can see when you start to move them down there, they don't quite fit. So it's too wide. This is wider than that pocket is. And when you move it down, you can see it's too wide to go in there. And so what we're going to do is position it as though it were in the pocket, and then narrow it so that it can fit. So I'm folding this corner down almost to the bottom of the pocket right here, and leaving just a tiny bit of room just to the inside of this crease here, putting it down there just so there's a little room at the bottom of the pocket, and then sweeping back. Now you don't want it to come to a point back here. There's going to be a little gap right there. So that's kind of how you know you're on the right track. Positioning as though we're going into the pocket. So if there's just a little, you know, maybe like a 1/2 inch gap right here between where the crease ends and where the corner of the paper is. So it's always a good idea to keep symmetry going. So I'm going to flip it over and make this side match. And again, just using the bottom of the pocket as the reference, keeping about 1 millimeter or 2 off the bottom, and I'm going to sweep that back, and again, see, you've got a little gap right there, which is good. And I've gone to the inside of the pocket edge here and to just short of the bottom of the pocket there. All right, let's flip it back over this way. Now I'm going to start to narrow this point so it can go in there. And so what I want to do is make a crease so that this flap fits inside this pocket. So I'm just going to lift it up and make a crease that follows this edge, just to the inside of that edge. So you can see what I'm doing there. I'm lifting it up just so I can see this edge right here. Then I'm going to start to press down and just leave a little gap between where the crease is forming and that edge. So you can see I've got just a little bit of that edge showing right there. This is the outside edge of the pocket. And I'm making this point narrow enough to go in there, and I'm not paying much attention back here. I'm not making a crease back here at all. I'm just kind of letting that be up in the air right now. So I've got a crease to narrow this point. I'm getting ready to put it in the pocket, and now I'm just going to put it in there. Hold this together, pinch open the pocket a little bit, stuff that corner in there, and then it's going to look really weird for a moment. It's all kind of up in the air, wonky looking here. You can see that it's not laying flat at all. Everything's kind of cattywampus and curved. So that's what you want at this point. It's not flat. So what we're now going to do is flatten this side so we can put the other side in the other corner in its pocket. So let's start by just pressing it flat like this. We're going to make a new crease that goes from the front of the pocket up to this point right here. And we're going to make a crease that goes from that point to the back of the plane. And I'm going to pull this corner down. Remember that corner where we had just a little bit left over? I'm going to pull this corner down so it's pretty close to the center crease. That's all happening at the same time as I flatten this out. So here we go, flattening that out, pulling that corner down just so it touches the center crease. And using the front of the pocket as a guide, I'm going to press that flat, let that crease extend up to the top point here. And keeping the corner on the center crease, now I'm just going to sweep back. Oh, and it stuck down a little bit below, that ended up below the crease. That's okay, as long as the other side matches, it's all right. Don't get all hung up that it's got to just exactly be there. This is close enough for jazz. All right, flipping it over, and we're going to narrow this point so that it goes into this pocket here. There's your pocket. You can see the pocket's right there. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Here we go. Lifting that up, keeping just to the inside of the edge of the pocket there. Making a crease that goes down to the point, sweeping up. And everything is cattywampus once more. And we're going to hold on to the point, open that pocket, and just put that point in there. Just like that. And again, it's all weird, and so we're going to flatten it out. Now, I've got this point down here from the other side that I should be able to line this point up with. Let's just do that. Let's pull it down, line it up right there. And now I should be able to crease to the front of the pocket, crease up like that, flatten this guy as it goes to the rear. Good. That's the hardest part of the plane is done. And we ended up just a little bit below the center crease. Not a big problem. Not a problem at all. Cool. I'm flattening out these creases here, left and right. And now what I'm going to do is fold from the front of the pocket to this back corner right here. I'm just going to fold. This is the center crease on the plane, and this is the front of the pocket. I'm just going to fold from here to here. Just going to lift this flap up, and this will be, making the wingspan larger. It gives the plane this really kind of cool stop sign shape when you're all done. So we're folding these flaps back out, flip it over, make this side match. Just kind of aim to get these corners one on top of the other there. There we go. Now what we're going to do is flatten this center crease out. So I'm going to lift it up, and what we're going to do is a squash fold. And so I'm lifting up. This is going to end up laying flat, and I'm going to push this. This is the front of the plane. So what I'm going to do is push the front of the plane down and just widen it out. And you want to keep track of these two corners right here. You want them to line up with the center crease. So here we go. Those two corners are keeping them lined up with the center crease. I'm going to rotate it so it's completely upside down here. It's just easier for me to see those two corners. Make that flat, flatten that out. Keep these corners together as you do all that. All right, now you're probably getting a little bit of bubbling here and a little bit of bubbling there. So we're just going to do a sweep move just to flatten the wings out. And just sweeping out the excess bubbling there, making a nice sharp crease there. Now what we're going to do is flip it over. I'm going to flip it this way so that the nose that's pointing at me is going to end up pointing up. So I'm just going to flip it straight this way and then fold straight down. Take the nose and I'm going to fold. I call this the shoulders of the plane here, but I'm going to fold from this layer to this layer, just right straight across here. Just bending the nose straight down like this, right straight across there. I'm going to rotate it so that the crease we just made is to the left, and then I'm going to fold in half right along that center crease. You can see it's really starting to take shape now. Making the wing is a little tricky. You want to keep the wing crease parallel with the center crease here. And this triangle right here, you want to keep an eye on when you're making the wing crease. You want to nip off just a little tiny bit of that triangle, maybe about 2-3 millimeters of that triangle, and that's how you figure out where your wing crease is. So I'm folding the wing over, and I'm just nipping off 2 or 3 millimeters of that triangle right there, and that's how I know that I'm in the right place. And if you keep this single layer edge lined up in a straight line, you'll know that your wing crease is going straight down the plane. Okay, there's one wing done. We're going to flip it over and make the other wing match. And I'm going to be careful with these two corners, just bring them together as I press and sweep. And now we're just going to make winglets here. And so I'm going to bring this winglet up. I'm going to try to keep it parallel with the main wing crease. And I'm going to go about, I don't want to go all the way to this layer. I'm going to leave a big, almost thumb wide gap here. So I'm trying to keep parallel to the main wing crease. Pretty healthy gap before I get to that. And right there we go. So that's my one winglet done. I'm going to flip it over and make the other winglet match. You've got a crease that you can just kind of line up with here. And you can have a lot of variability in this winglet size. So the winglet, it kind of counterbalances what we're going to do next, which is set the dihedral angle at a negative sweep. That's the key for all great stunt planes, negative dihedral angle and enough up elevator to get it to climb a lot. So let's start by setting our negative dihedral and lifting up these winglets so that they're straight up and down. You want the winglets straight up and down like that. And you can see that the wing is pretty flat here. So the first thing I'm going to do to create negative dihedral is roll my thumb across the bottom of the plane to get a nice little curve going there, like that. You can see that's this side done, this side not done. So I'm just massaging the bottom of the plane against my finger like that. This is the motion here. And I'm just creating, now that's going to hold the layers together nicely in addition to making a negative dihedral or a wing droop to the plane. You want the wings to droop a bit for a stunt plane. And why would you want that? Because if your plane has positive dihedral angle, that is, if the wings slope upward, like this plane has positive dihedral here. So this plane, if I throw it leaned over, because the weight is down here underneath where the wings are, if I throw it leaned over, it has a tendency to rock back to neutral. So I think I have a picture of that happening here. Let's see if I got, let me see if I got positive dihedral happening here. Yeah, so let's look at this just for a second. So positive dihedral angle is self-correcting. If the wings are sloped upward and I throw my plane leaned over, watch what happens. This guy will just, the weight will swing right back underneath the wings and the plane keeps flying straight. Now that's the result of that upward sweep on the wings. Now most good paper airplanes have that. Most aircraft that you're going to ride in, they have that positive dihedral angle, that upward sweep. But the Boomerang plane does not. The Boomerang plane, you want those wings drooping because if I throw it leaned over, it's going to stay leaned over. And then because I've got some extra up elevator and this plane just has, the center of gravity is a little bit further back than you would want for an average glider or an average distance plane. So now I'm just going to flatten that out just a little bit. I kind of overdid it there a bit. So now when the plane opens up in flight, this is the top of the plane, mind you. So if it opens up in flight, look at how much the wings are drooping compared to this guy right here, where the wings are, sloping upward. So this is the big difference in stunt planes and good gliders and good distance planes. The wings are drooping a bit. So I've just added some up elevator here. I'm going to make sure that your wings are leaving the body of the plane at the same angle. I've added a little bit of upward bend here at the back of the plane, and that should be enough to get it to fly a good circle or a good loop. Now the trick with all stunt planes, in order to get them to do the circle back, the trick is to get it flying straight first. Most people forget about that. But what you want to do is make sure that this guy is flying in a straight line. Get these winglets straight up and down again after you've done your negative dihedral angle adjustment. So if you can get it flying in a straight line and give it a harder toss and get it to do a loop, you're well on your way to getting it to circle back. A circle back is just a loop leaned over. So if I throw it straight and it loops this way, and then I throw it leaned over like this, it'll fly in a circle that way, which is just a loop that way. Or if I lean it this way, it'll fly in a circle that way. Now, I'll show you the video again, and you'll see the trick now this time. There's your plane. Here's the Boomerang. Now I'm throwing it leaned over. You'll see it. It just stays leaned over. It doesn't rock back to neutral. It'll stay leaned over in that curve. It's climbing its way back in a circle. And of course, I'm kind of juggling two planes, and I'm throwing it to the left here. The top of the plane is causing it to circle left, but without any adjustment whatsoever, I can now throw it so that it circles to the right, and I can throw it straight, and it does a loop. And that is your Boomerang plane. It's complicated to build, some complicated folding, but once you get it dialed in, it is a super fun plane to show off and do tricks with. Lots of planes in my book, including the Boomerang II, follow foils, all the 4 planes that you see in the picture. So, you can go to thepaperAirplaneGuide.com, get the book, and tell me who you want it signed to. Happy to sign the book for you. I'm John Collins, the Paper Airplane Guy, world record holder for paper airplane distance. We'll see you next time.